And we are live.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everybody. A couple of kind of housekeeping issues tonight. You may have noticed we have heat and air conditioning now for the synagogue. So that is something new, and that is thanks to Ken. A quick note about it. Downstairs, if the bathroom is not occupied, leave the door open because the heat won't go in there without the door being open. So. And another minor housekeeping item, if anybody comes to the synagogue during the day, we now have parking passes on the back cabinet over there. So if you need to park in the neighborhood and don't want to get a ticket, and it's not the high holidays, pick up one of the parking passes.
Yeah, they're only to be used if you're here working on a project or specifically in the neighborhood for synagogue purposes, and please remember to return them. They're not free, and we only have 3 of them. Can we have a volunteer come to light the candles, please?
We lost Jessica, so take mine.
She's hiding in the back.
Jessica, would you like to light the candles?
I'd be happy to, yes.
Lovely, lovely. I'm going to get a book. Is there a book up there?
No.
You're ready by the time you get there.
We've also tried moving the microphone. From what we can ascertain, it picks up congregational responses better. So respond with a hearty voice.
I gotta get us a box. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu, b'mitzvotav etzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Let us all join together on page 3, reading the top 2 paragraphs. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As the day reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring their offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Turning to page 6. Do I have a volunteer to read the lower paragraphs?
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Turning to page 10. I'll read the bottom paragraph. The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come, gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, you angels of peace. Turning to page 13.
Please join me on the beginning of the Shir Ladonai. Shir Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Ladonai, Kol haaretz, Shir Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basiru miyom Yeshuato, Shir Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Ladonai, Baruch Haaretz, Shir Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basiru miyom Yeshuato. That was very nice.
Getting better all the time. I think we're going to have to start picking one side versus the other.
We'll now turn to page 20. L'chadodi. I think we added another verse that we're going to try this time. So we are now up to 1, 2, 3, try to holler a number as we get close.
And remember, as we get to 9, we all rise and face the entrance doors. We'll hold up hands for the verse numbers.
Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Shamor zachor b'tibur echad, Himishmianu el ha'yechad, Adonai echad, Shmo echad. L'shiroti me'ed b'hila, lecha dodi lechat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi lechat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Likrat Shabbat leku lecha, ki me'or ha'baracha, me'rosh mekadem me'sucha, sofa seder makasavakavah, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzili mitoch ha'klecha, ravach shevet be'emek chacham, beduyet mimcho ha'aloich nimah. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Hitorei, 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 kumidori, uri, uri, shir daveri, kivod Adonai alayhi migla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Boi shalom v'adonai, gam b'shimcha u'tzahala, tokemune am selah. Boi kala, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. And Akiva, if you would lead us on Psalm 22, I'm sorry, Psalm 92 on page 22, and you begin at the 3rd verse.
Yes.
And how many verses will we do?
Just 4, so
4?
3, 4, 5, 6, so 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Tov lehodot lanai, Tov lehodot lanai, ulizamer, b'shimcha elyon, Tov lehodot lanai, levagid baboker,
Turning to page 23. Well, it's not exactly a turn. Let us all read the paragraph together. Adonai is sovereign. God is robed in grandeur. Adonai is robed. God is girded with strength. The world stands firm. It cannot be shaken. Your throne stands firm from of old. From eternity you have existed. The ocean sounds Adonai. The ocean sounds its thunder. The ocean sounds its pounding. Above the thunder of the mighty waters, more majestic than the breakers of the sea, is Adonai, majestic on high. Your decrees are indeed enduring. Holiness befits your house, Adonai, for all times. Turning to page 24.
Jessica, Jessica, could you start us on this one?
Sure.
And while we're on this one, I have a request. After we've sung it in Hebrew, can we try to maybe do the first verse in English to see how it works with the tune? I'd appreciate it. When you're ready.
Hold on, wait a minute. You mean sing the English?
No, well, after we do
After we do the Hebrew,
Right.
then I'd like to try to do a verse or two in English to see how it works out.
Sort of do that.
We can, I just did it in my head,
If
But we're
someone
missing-
repeated or whatever.
but we're just, yeah, I'm gonna have to repeat part of it
Right.
because there's just not enough.
There's not enough words there, but we repeated other things to fill in the blanks. I think we can maybe figure it out.
Just, yeah, I mean, it all fits in except for the very, so maybe we can just do Holy One and Blessing over again.
Good plan.
Okay, I can try that one, I can try it out. Okay. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashare, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ba'uni Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Satan and Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Peace be to you, O ministering angels, messengers of the Most
majesties, Holy One of blessing, Holy One of blessing. Bless me with peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High. Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing, Holy One of blessing. Dignity archangels, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High. Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing, Holy One of blessing.
Thank you. That was really good for a first try. See, you can translate these things. All right, turning to page 20. Do we have 10?
Page, yes, we do.
We do. We just make it for a minute.
9, 10, 11. More
Yay. Turning to page 26.
Anybody would like to join me on this page on Kaddish, that would be good. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shnei Rabbah, B'yama Divrachim Rutei, B'yam Likmal Rutei, B'chaye Kono Yom Uchaye B'alei Yisrael, Ba'ala U'izman Karim B'miru Amen. Neheshnei Rabbanu Barak, Rabbanei Yonayad, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Yishabat, V'yipar, V'yitramam, V'yinaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shnei Kudasham, V'rehu, V'eila, Mikol Yerkata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechemata, Damiram, V'yalma, V'yimeru. Amen. Exalted and hallowed be God's great name in the world which God created, according to plan. May God's majesty be revealed in the days of our lifetime and the life of all Israel, speedily, imminently, to which we say, Amen.
Amen.
Blessed be God's great name to all eternity. Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, extolled, glorified, adored, and lauded be the name of the Holy Blessed One, beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise, and comfort, to which we say, Amen.
Amen. On page 27. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips the blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence. Turning
Turn
to
to page
page
28. If everyone would please rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevora. Baruch Adonai Hamevora. is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever. Turning now to page 31. If everyone would join me on the bottom of page 31. Sorry, you may be seated, sorry. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of life. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama ariv aravim.
Turning to page 32. Let us all read together.
Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. On the top of page 33, Mark, would you be willing to read that?
Sure. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Thank you.
Turning to page 34, if once again we could all rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God. Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Turning to page 37. You may be seated. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands.
Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Turning now to page 39. If we could all read together the whole, we're going to do the whole page. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together. In a world torn by violence and pain, in a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Turning to page 40, join me on the beginning of Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha, Ba'alim Adonai. Mi Chamocha, Neder B'Kodesh, Norat Hegilot, Oseh Peled, Oseh Peled. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders?
Turning to page 42. Let's all join together. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Hamidenu Shomeinu L'Chaim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Hamidenu Shomeinu L'Chaim. Ushmor Seitenu, Mu'oenu, L'Chaim Shalom, Me'ata Ve'ad Olam. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Hamidenu Shomeinu L'Chaim. This is one after we sing the Shamaru. In Hebrew, I'd like to see if we can follow it up with English as well. What are your thoughts, Jessica?
This one isn't going to be as easy as the other one. If I can work on it,
that assignment. And for tonight, we sing the usual format. So I'll join in.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dorot ha-merry olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dorot ha-merry olam. Be'yu b'nei Yisrael O hi le'olam, O hi le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dorot ha-merry olam. Ki sheshet yamim asar Adonai et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dorot ha-merry olam. U'vayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dorot ha-merry olam.
Turning to page 46.
If everyone would please rise. Adonai sefatai tita, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Turning to page 48.
Someone will help me out with the Hebrew here. You can try with the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoteinu v'Elokeinu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak v'Elokei Yaakov Elokei Sarah Elokei Rivka Elokei Rachel v'Elokei Ephraim Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Hasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Yavot V'Yamot V'Mei Gama V'Nei B'Nem L'man Shemo V'Yava Melech Ozer V'Moshe Yochei Baruch atah Adonai Magid Avraham V'Azrat Sarah. Thank you. Blessed are you. Sorry, after you.
There is a duet. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah, the great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God, who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemption to their children's children for the sake of the divine name. Sovereign, deliverer, helper, and shield. Blessed are you, Adonai, Sarah's helper and Abraham's shield. Baruch atah Adonai, Magain Abraham v'Ezrat Sarah. takes us to page
52.
52.
If everybody would join us with the English. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you
every day.
Blessed
are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Turning to page 55. Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied.
Dissatisfied with the
Dissatisfied.
peace of
The
your
ignorance,
ignorance, the
the
quietude which arises from the shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans.
Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric of prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. To page 56.
If you will, join us in the English on page 56.
56.
Find
Favor,
favor,
Adonai,
our
your God, with your people Israel,
and
and accept their prayer in love.
May
May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us.
Turning now to page 61. So please join me in the English on the top of the page. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise her, you eternal one, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first.
Did you want me to read that again, or
Yes.
do you remember from the verse?
I did not remember, but yeah, if you would, that would be wonderful. Thanks for reminding me, Akiva.
ושפע בין הגויים והוכיח לעמים רבים וכתתו חרבותם לעתים וחניתותיהם למזמרות לא יישא גוי על גוי חרב ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה.
Thank you.
Actually, anybody have a pen on them? If I don't mark, usually there's one here, it disappeared. I have one in the back.
We'll remember.
We'll remember
We'll
it.
remember after. It'll be over.
We've been cheating and making notes as we go for moments just like that.
Did you say a pen? There's one on the harpsichord, I think.
Okay. Well, you mark that down. You turn to page 63. Okay. Let's all read together the paragraph at the top of page 63. Create a pure heart within me. Let my soul wake up in your light. Open me to your presence. Flood me with your Holy Spirit. Then I will stand and sing out the power of your forgiveness. I will teach your love to the lonely. The lost will find their way home. Adonai, open up my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. All right, that brings us to your sermon.
Okay, now comes the scary part for everyone. Once again, Parsha. A whole lot going on in several long passages. Begins in chapter 28, verse 10, this evening. And it's another story. Stories we can find things in, the tide of our modern lives. And Jacob left Beersheba and went to Haran. And he arrived at the place and lodged there, because the sun had set. And he took some of the stones of the place and placed them at his head. And he lay down at that place. And he dreamed, behold, a ladder set upon the ground, and its top reached to heaven. And behold, angels of God were ascending and descending upon it. And behold, the Lord was standing over him, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land upon which you are lying I will give to you and to your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth. And you shall gain strength westward and eastward, and northward and southward. And through this you shall be blessed by all the families of the earth throughout your seed. And behold, I am with you, and I will guard you wherever you go, and I will restore you to this land, for I will not forsake you until I have done what I have spoken concerning you. And Jacob awakened from his sleep, and he said, Indeed, the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was frightened, and he said, How awesome is this place! There is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob arose early in the morning, and he took the stone that he had placed at his head and set it up as a monument, and he poured oil on top of it. And then he named the place Beth El, although Luz was its original name. And Jacob uttered a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and he will guard me on this way upon which I am going, and he will give me bread to eat and a garment to wear, and if I return in peace to my father's house, and the Lord will be my God, then this stone, which I have placed as a monument, shall be a house of God,
and everything that you give me, I will surely tithe to you. The story from today's reading records Jacob's experience with God via a dream one night as he was departing from Canaan. The passage has prompted two well-known songs over the years. One is the African slave spiritual. Can you still say that? I guess it was a spiritual sung by slaves at the time. Even though you have to cringe every time you use a word like that these days. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. Have any of you heard that song? It's a rousing song. The other is the hymn, Nearer, My God, to Thee. The latter is probably best known as the song musicians on the Titanic reportedly played as the ship plunged into the icy waters that tragic night in April 1912. Much of the content of this hymn is based on the incident found in today's texts. While the words and melody of this hymn are comforting to hear or sing, we must remember that Jacob's circumstances were very uncertain. He was on the run from his angry brother Esau. Jacob's self-exile had him traveling to a place he had never been and moving beyond the territory of the promised land for the first time. When would he be able to return? What did his fortune hold? Jacob came to realize that what he was leaving behind did not include the blessing and protection of God. God had his future well in hand. When Esau realized that he had been outwitted by his brother Jacob for the second time, he determined to kill Jacob, though not until after Isaac's death. Rebekah learned of Esau's plan and urged Jacob to flee northward to Haran. This was the place where Abraham stopped and stayed for a time on his way from Ur of the Chaldeans to Canaan. Abraham's father, Terah, had died in Haran, and apparently Abraham's brother Nahor had decided to remain there. Jacob was thus being sent to stay with family, specifically Rebekah's brother Laban. You should remember all those from 2 weeks ago. Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for a night, because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of this place, he placed it under his head and laid down. And he dreamed there was a ladder set up on earth, the top reaching heaven, and the angels of God ascending and descending it. And the Lord stood behind him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give you for you and your offspring. And your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth. With Abraham it was as numerous as the stars of heaven. You shall spread east, west, north, south, and all the families of earth shall be blessed in you and through you with your offspring. Know that I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I promised. Again, we have some distances. Jacob left for Beersheba, which is the town Isaac eventually settled, following a bunch of disputes with the Philistines, etc. A journey from Beersheba to Haran, where Jacob's relatives and family lives. Again, this is a trip of approximately 600 miles. This is quite a journey for someone who is used to living in tents, the same as Abraham's life. Later we learn that the certain place where Jacob stops for the night is the town of Luz. It's approximately 60 miles northeast of Beersheba. So it may take Jacob a few days more travel to reach his destination. With no street lights, flashlights, cell phones to light the way, travelers in that area stopped. When the sun went down, you stayed put. Then has his dream, his ladder. His ladder reaching to heaven, angels arising and descending, reaching a platform at the top. The way the story is related, it's apparent that Jacob was most fascinated with the angels. Angels play an important life in the account of Jacob, particularly in the standpoint of his spiritual pilgrimage. He dreams of them again and again. As the Lord speaks, it's worthy of noting that he says nothing whatsoever about Jacob's deceptive actions toward his father and brother. That is not what the wanderer from home needs to hear at this point. Instead, God's reaffirming the covenant, the promises made to grandfather Abraham and Isaac. God has nothing to say about Esau. That whole story, God who knows, says nothing. Instead, he reaffirms same promises made to Abraham. To Abraham, it was the stars of heaven. To Jacob, it's dust of the earth. Upon waking, he makes a shrine. Very common in that time frame, that day and age. If people thought there was a miraculous event of any type, celestial, cosmic, divine intervention or message of some type, people would dedicate a spot to it. And that's the first thing he does. He takes that stone, he places it in a more significant location. He pours oil on it, which is sanctifying it, the same as you would pour oil upon your children's head. You would pour oil on your children's head if they were getting married, if they were leaving you. Many reasons. If you were dividing your property and setting them in their own business, you would bless. You were blessed with oil. So this is really affirming that this is a very special, special place. In verse 19, Jacob calls the place Bethel, which, as hopefully most of you knew, Bethel is house of God. He's beginning to set up a place of worship. The same theme we've been hearing throughout all of this in Genesis is one of promises made, of promises accepted, and promises fulfilled. We a lot in our lives, especially today, we live in a world of instantaneous commitment, response, answers. God made promises to Jacob, to Isaac. God's still making promises now if we hear him. But God never said today, next week, this year, even in your lifetime. And to keep reminding people, God kept reminding them of his promise over and over, and there's a bunch more coming up in the next few weeks in similar language, in similar ways of God taking the initiative. God calls out, God speaks. It makes no reference of it being a burning bush moment. It's a God in a more personal form. Reiterating a promise. Restating a promise. Stating a promise that they most certainly understand the wordage of, because it has been repeated. And God is keeping his promise, but he's keeping his promise in God's time. These are things that will come to pass. You are the chosen. You are the family. You and your children's children's children will inherit and continue. And why? Because God loves his children. In most of God's promises, there were earlier, Genesis we're talking, weren't made with strings or caveats or bargains. Promises were made, promises were accepted, and in God's time, promises were fulfilled. I like this period of biblical history much, much more than when we get into later periods where promises are accompanied by threats. You know, at this point, God's not saying, as long as you listen to me, otherwise I'll take away the rain. And, you know, let your neighbors overrun you and steal your crops and your cattle. But the overriding thing is God makes promises. He makes them in his time. And if you take the time to listen to those promises, you will find fulfillment. You will find happiness. You will find God.
Turning to page 258. This is the section of prayers. And we're going to begin with prayers. First paragraph, together for our congregation. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn their passion from us. Love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'ot ka levad ka l'riyah na'avot. This lower half, we read together as well, the prayer for our country. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry, and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us to appreciate one another and to respect our many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit.
Amen.
And as yesterday was Veterans Day, the one line in here, may we honor those who have died in the defense of our ideals. We don't fight for country, we fight for ideals, for the ideals we share. That's what makes us who we are. So we honor all those who died defending our ways, our ideals. On page 259, our prayers for the state of Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread it over the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
to page 282. We're on the home stretch. Please join me in Alenu, and the one that we know the tune to is the one on the bottom, page 282. Please rise for the Alenu. Sorry. Alenu Ishabea Yadom Havo La Leikidua Sereshi Shelo Asanu Kiloye Haraso Milvelo Samanu Kimishto Vagana Shelo Samhain Vaden Vigo Ravidu page 283. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Oh, well, not on page 283, sorry, typo there. Page 285. Please join me all together in the English on 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. You may now be seated. Thank you. On page 287. You want to read?
May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. Thus it has been said, Adonai will be sovereign over all the earth. On that day, Adonai will be one, and God's name will be one.
Okay, so turning now to page 290. Would anybody like to read the reading number 4? No, not yet. Oops, sorry, Marty, thank you.
Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God in each hour of the 24 and each moment then. In the faces of men and women I see God, and in my own face in the glass. I find letters from God dropped in the street, and every one is signed by God's name. And I leave them where they are, for I know that wheresoever I go, others will punctually come forever and ever.
Thank you. We are now at the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. anyone who's in mourning or observing an anniversary of the death, please rise, or if it's your custom to rise regardless, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah b'yama divra chirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayei echon v'yomei echon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'barak li'olam omei omaya yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudasha berechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imrumav hu yasei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. May their memories be for blessing. Zechoranam Livracha. So now please turn to page 343. And join me at the second to the bottom song for Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom b'imrumav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. 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 Thank you very much, everybody. Does anybody else have any other announcements that we need to make before we head downstairs? All right, let's head downstairs for some challah and the kitchen. Those are all the students that you need to pick with your Kaddish. You can turn this down.
Okay. Friday.